What's up, everybody? This is Cyrus coming at you with a new video here this evening at Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics, where we talk about complex, supernatural, metaphysical topics that people don't always cover in other channels, other places, so we do that here. And tonight, we're talking about the idea of not going toward the light. We all know about the light. It is pretty much ingrained into our vocabulary. Primarily through like near-death experiences, pop culture, and things like that. But there is a growing movement of people who are kind of pseudo-conspiracy theorists who say that the light that people report during near-death experiences or when they're dying is a trap. It's something that tricks people into reincarnation. And I want to get to the bottom of this a little bit. So that's what this video is about. Because this is a big deal considering we're all going to die. And based upon NDEs, a good percentage of people who pass away in this plane have an experience with this light. And there's a lot of people right now saying to watch out, to be careful of whatever this is. So that is the topic. Before we jump into this topic, a couple things I want to mention. I want to give a special shout out to, I made a post on the Afterlife Topics group where I am pretending to be a pearl-clutching Puritan who is offended by all the talk of sex and naughty, impure things on the group, and calling out the owner of the group as being this filthy, terrible person. And there are people non-ironically responding to the thread and agreeing with me that we should never talk about naughty things on the group, that we should be moderating people's thoughts and all this. And I just think it's really funny. Of course, almost everybody gets the joke, but it's there's some people posting who think I'm being serious, and I'm basically just illustrating how, well, the Facebook group, this channel, the website, this is not an area for people who are coming out of some maybe strict Catholic background and they think it's wrong to talk about sex, or they have this very specific opinion about what an afterlife has to be like. It has to be this extremely sanitized place that only relates to like floating around and worshiping God or whatnot. It has nothing to do with the objective evidence or spirit communication or the stuff I talk about in this channel or my books. And so it is funny that you get people with that background. They come on the group and they complain and they accuse people of being filthy, of being sinners. And as the head moderator, and there's a bunch of us who are admins of the group, we have to deal with that. We have to remove people and deal with the drama of people coming in like that. And so I made this thread kind of as a joke, but also to sort of bring to the surface the people who think this way, so that it's easier to deal with them, in case they cause problems in the future. So it's really funny. Some people have these ideas so embedded into their minds, and when I talk about things like astral sex, it really pisses them off, really gets under their skin. And so we can all have a good laugh about it. But I'm bringing this up because it also relates to this topic as well. And I'll get to why in a minute. And by the way, if you like these long form style videos, basically like podcasts, unedited, something to listen to while you're driving, you can download the videos, listen to them basically as MP3 files. There's websites that allow you to do that. If you like this kind of stuff, then I encourage you to please hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell. Without that notification bell, it is difficult to get the updates about when new videos come out. And lately I've been slow with producing videos because I've been here in Africa, in Ethiopia, with very limited internet. I haven't even been able to teach my classes that I normally teach twice a week for patrons because I only get like 2, 3, maybe 4 hours of working internet per day. I never know when it is. I have to keep refreshing my Wi-Fi to see when I can log in. So anyway, so to get to tonight's topic, and thank you for joining us, by the way. We're talking about the light. Is the light a trap? Are there archons trying to trick us into reincarnating? And let's see if we can get to the bottom of this without this video taking all night to produce. Before, though, we jump into that, let me just take off this jacket because it's getting a little bit warm here in my hotel room. Okay, much better. So, in relation to this topic, there's different websites that people keep linking to, and one is called canyoustandthetruth.com. And there's another website as well. I don't remember the name of it. I did like this one a little bit more. And this is a site where there's a lot of alternative information, and I will say there's parts of this website that I really like. So the author calls out a lot of crap in the New Age movement, like no negative thinking, positivity only, which is a great way to basically become a brainwashed zombie if you're not allowed to do critical thinking. In fact, I know communities and groups like that where critical thinking and, quote, negativity is not allowed, like proof of life after death. Groups like, different groups on the internet that promote that way of thinking. And so I applaud anybody who pushes against that kind of like weird stuff in the New Age metaphysical community. That said, I also really disagree with this website. I think there's a lot of bunk. And I say this coming from a position where I've been researching this thing about how the light could be a trap, and I've come to conclude that I think we should take it seriously, and I'm going to probably get to that in a minute. But we need to look at it from different angles and look at things based upon evidence and testimonials, and not use a narrative like this to spin an agenda or promote a religion or a cult, because this is something I'm seeing as well. For example, this article, and the author, by the way, is Angeliki Anastou, a Greek woman, and she runs this website. And this site is heavily influenced, I think, by probably Greek Orthodox Christianity, since that is the primary religion in Greece. And it doesn't seem so concerned with things like evidence. So basically, what this woman is arguing is that not only is this world a prison, but the entire astral world, all accounts of the afterlife, is a prison. That this is not real. That the afterlife as we know it, as we discuss on this page, is all a big lie. And you have to transcend beyond all of it by avoiding the light. And then you will be able to go to God. And when you die, you'll see a white light. And then off to your left someplace is a little glowing golden light. It says, "Hello, I'm the real light. Please go to me. Don't go to the white light." And then you're supposed to make a beeline and go into the golden light. And that way you'll escape the cycle of reincarnation. And then once you're in the golden light, then I assume you're now in the sanitized Christian version of heaven that this author promotes on her page. And I will say that in hundreds and hundreds of near-death experiences that I've read and studied, I've never seen anybody describe a golden light. So this is not coming from evidence. This is coming basically from this woman's theories. And to me, I don't find any value in it. There's a lot of theological interpretations in her work, talking about, referring to Jesus as a judge and not a redeemer, and the hidden gospels and things like that. I mean, it's, if you're into theology, these are interesting interpretations. But again, to me, it's not based upon evidence, and I honestly find it insulting for people to say that the, quote, astral world or an afterlife is an illusion, because these people have never been there. They've never had astral experiences, or probably they've never had near-death experiences where you actually go into that realm. Because if they had, they would understand that the exalted level of consciousness on these higher dimensions is the opposite of slavery. You can become free for the first time that you cannot experience here. There is no slavery. The astral world is not a slave world unless you're a slave of your own thoughts, of your own dogmas and doctrines and orthodoxies. If that's the case, then you will be a prisoner. You'll be a prisoner of your own mind. And that is the only kind of prison that happens. So there isn't this big boogeyman that's keeping everybody trapped. And then the only way you can get out is by following this lady's orthodox religious perspective. All that is just a way to get followers and to get people to join your church. And that's all I'm seeing this as. So it's an insult to dismiss the entire field of afterlife research and saying it's all a prison, it's all a trap. These people, they don't know what they're talking about. And then the alternative is some sanitized version of heaven where you float in a golden light for eternity, worshiping and serving Jesus and God. And that's supposed to be the alternative. And you present all this without any evidence. So it's just quite it's absurd to me, and it's coming from a position of ignorance. And I really recommend like Jurgen's books like Multidimensional Man if you want to learn about the conditions on that side and learn how that's many of these ideas is just pure superstition. So that's how I feel about this lady. That's how I feel about this website. But what do I feel about the concept of the light being a trap? Well, back up a minute. I would say that, okay, just because, I think this lady really goes off base and clearly she's a fundamentalist Christian, yada, yada, and she doesn't use evidence to cite her work, she is latching on to a particular idea. And I think Simon Parkes is one of the guys who talks a lot about how the light is a trap. And this concept actually comes from out-of-body experiencers and some near-death experiencers, and I think there's actually evidence to support the idea that we should not go to the light. I don't think that the astral world or the afterlife is, the entire scope of existence. The multiverse is all a big illusion. This is all conspiracy thinking. It's nonsense. It's not a trap. We have a sovereignty. We have free will. And no matter what condition we're in, unless we convince ourselves that we're slaves, then we're not slaves. But that doesn't mean that this concept of the light maybe being up to no good is something that we should dismiss. So let's turn over to the group. And so we had a member post her fascinating near-death experience. And just to summarize, in her NDE, the light appeared, the same light that, so many report. Basically, when the light comes, it's this kind of like this unbelievable drug trip. You get engulfed in pure unconditional love. And in that, when you're engulfed, you don't remember anything. You don't care about your family back here, or you don't have a sense of individuality. You just become this like engulfed in this pure kind of unstoppable love sensation that overwhelms whatever you once were. And I've always found this a little bit odd to me. So she was talking about in her NDE, what happened is, well, the light appeared and then a couple of Roman soldiers appeared. Well, that's odd. And the Roman soldiers gave her an order, and she said that they told her, do not go into the light. Okay, that's an order. Don't go down that path because I don't know, did they specifically say reincarnation? No, I don't think they mentioned reincarnation, but there was a different NDE I also read. I don't think I can bring it up because I don't remember when it was posted. But again, a different lady. The light came, and she had a strong sense that if she went into the light, that she was going to be reincarnated, and so she avoided the light. And then in this instance, the Roman soldiers told her not to go into the light. You might be wondering, why the heck would Roman soldiers appear in near-death experience? Well, that's because there's no reason to assume the Roman Empire does not still exist on astral planes. And maybe somebody has had past lives serving in the Roman Empire, maybe in this world, maybe in other worlds, and they were looking out for her. They wanted to come in and warn her, follow us instead, don't get duped into going into the light, because if you do, well, based upon all the other data, you may end up being forcefully reincarnated instead of being able to join us in the actual afterlife. So this is a big cause for concern to me. So should we avoid the light? And what is causing this? Is there something tricking us? Is it an archon, as people talk about? I'm not willing to go there just yet. I think, and this is actually something Political Taco, Sherlip brought up in the thread as well, which is a good point, which is it might not just be archons we're talking about, but it could be religious leaders, spiritual entities on that side, especially, for example, coming out of the Buddhist faith. And they've convinced themselves that reincarnation is the only way to do it. When the light comes, it's like it pacifies somebody. It turns somebody to a state where they forget themselves, they forget who they were, and we could say they could become highly suggestible to do what a greater spiritual entity tells them to do. And if the greater spiritual entity comes and says that you must reincarnate, if you've lost 99% of your own sense of self when you're immersed in this loving light, then I think there's a very high chance that you're going to go along with whatever any kind of spiritual entity tells you to do. Now, these spiritual entities, they may have people's best interests in mind, but they have convinced themselves that the only path to their idea of freedom, or whatever it is that you have to always go back, reincarnate. And I don't know if there is some kind of a malicious intention behind that or not. But what people have been reporting in NDEs as well as in astral experiences is there's entities that are using this light to persuade people to do things that might not be in their best interest. Now, are people reincarnating back here again and again to perpetuate some kind of a earthly slave system, as some of the conspiracy theorists believe? I don't know. There was not enough data. I haven't had any personal experiences about this, so I don't know. But I will say I've always found it weird that in some NDEs, people go into the light and they talk about this all-encompassing love that completely saturates them. They say, I didn't even care about my children, my family. And then the people who come back often say that it's like they had to resist that all-encompassing love so that they could remember, for example, their husband or their kids, and then force themselves to come back to their bodies. And I've read variations of that in many NDEs. And I've always found that just, like, my intuition, my gut instinct has always told me there is something weird about this. And then when you look at the kind of new age religion, if you look at like some of the near-death experience groups, it's like people worship this light and they say, nothing else matters. You can do anything you want in life. You can be a genocidal maniac. We all go to the light. We all get redeemed. We all end up in pure love, unconditional love for eternity. And nothing we do on this side matters, which does not seem like a philosophy coming from a healthy, grounded, or positive place. Again, I've always felt weird about this. And lastly, and I wanted to save this for last because this to me is one of the biggest reasons I think I have to stay skeptical of the light, is that in all my experiences communicating with deceased people and doing astral trips, talking to like my mom, my father, my brother, and other random people on the street who have recollected their lives on this side, and studying hundreds of years of spirit communication, whether it's the Leslie Flint tapes or the experiences of Swedenborg or Who else? Sloan, or any of the other direct voice or trance mediums, even David Thompson. There is something that spirits tend to unanimously not report, and it's the light. They talk about the life review, they talk about other elements of the near-death experience. They never talk about having seen the light. It's almost like real people who are in the real afterlife, by nature, if they're there, they did not experience the light. Because maybe if they had, they wouldn't be in there. They wouldn't be in the real astral world, the real afterlife, because they would have been gobbled up and reincarnated or sent somewhere else. So why is it that deceased people never talk about the light? And some deceased people are even like, that's weird, I was expecting to see a light, but I just woke up on this side and now I continue my life. Is it possible that we're looking at this kind of confirmation bias where it's like the people on that side who are living there, by nature of the fact that they're in the afterlife, the light didn't come. If they had seen the light or gone into the light, maybe they wouldn't be in the astral world. Maybe they would be in like a stasis, or maybe they would have been sent back to this world. So that's something to think about. How come deceased people don't talk about it? Excuse me. So that is something that concerns me, and I think it should concern everybody. Now, finally, I want to say that this doesn't mean that the light maybe is an evil thing. It could be a higher dimensional thing, like like a box somebody opens up and they put this higher dimensional energy that feels really, really good, and they open it up and then you feel it and you experience that oneness, and it may be that something is using that to manipulate people into doing things that they don't want to do. That could be one situation. Or it could be that it's not, maybe this Greek lady, maybe she is onto something, in the sense of saying that there is a light of God, but the light that you see may not be it. And if that light is forcing you to do something or trying to delete your individuality and replace it with something else, or coerce you into doing something that probably is not the best thing for you to do, then it's not actually the light. And how the heck do you distinguish between them? So this whole idea that, okay, the real light is a golden color, that doesn't even make any sense. I mean, if there really were some entity masquerading or using this light to manipulate people, then don't you think it could change the color of its stupid light? That wouldn't be the thing that you could determine. Finally, again, I guess final point is, I think this concept has been floating around for a while, and people sense that there's something a little bit funny going on, right? For example, I mean, let me think. I had an idea in my mind about this, or I wanted to illustrate something. People are worried about dying and being tricked, right? Like William Bowman, the great out-of-body explorer, he's kind of jumped the shark, and he's become very paranoid about dying and being caught in some cycle that he can't get out of. And so that's why he believes in having a recording going when you die saying, higher self now, higher self now, higher self now, so you can somehow transcend beyond what typically happens when you die. And I don't agree with that for a number of reasons. I'll talk about that in a future video, I think. But it's kind of like people have had this feeling for a while that there's some things we have to be careful of when we cross over. And my advice is this: don't go to the light. If the light really is the light of God and it's all encompassing, then it's already part of you. There is no going into something that's already with you. Go to what matters. Go to your deceased loved ones, and guarantee they're your deceased loved ones by the energy that you feel coming out of them. If I talk to my mom, I know it's my mom because I know her energy. Okay, don't go to a deceased loved one if you get a weird feeling from them. So you have to trust your inner self. Most people I talked to who have died, it was very simple. They died, which was just like falling asleep, and then they woke up on that side. And they were surrounded by people helping them transition to the next level above this one that we call the astral earth. And there's countless levels above and beyond that, right? But you know, the very basic place that a lot of us go to when we die, it's a great place. You can reunite with people and life continues. You can use the internet and probably debate about these topics on the astral internet, for crying out loud, but it's a perfect place to go to when we're transitioning from this side, and people just wake up there and it's great. You know, for 90% of us, it's great. There's no issues. So that's, in my opinion, what should happen. If you find yourself being confronted by the light, tell your guides or whatever, it's like, look, I'm not sure how I feel about this. Just take me to my loved ones. Take me to where they are. Take me to whatever environment that is. You know, if I have to like go to sleep for a while while I attune myself to my astral body and then wake up on that side, okay, whatever it takes. Just, you know, don't send me into these conditions yet, because I'm not ready yet to do that. You can, you know, we know, like through Jurgen's work, we can move up to higher and higher realms through our own mental work. We don't need the light to come gobble us up and suck us up into something. Because what if there's something to this? What if there is something exploiting this system? We got to think about that. This is Cyrus. Head on over to patreon.com/afterlife topics. I'll just bring it up real quick. If you want to support this work, it's really important. So that is patreon.com/afterlife topics. Let's see if my internet is good enough to load up the page. Probably not, because the internet is so sketchy where I am. Oh, okay, it loaded up. So this is the Patreon page, and any additional help with this is appreciated. If you want to see this channel keep going, see the group keep going, see me remaining active. I do a lot of work in this field, and unless some revenue comes in, then I can't juggle this with, you know, my expenses. I mean, I live out of a backpack. I travel around. I keep my expenses really low, but still, like sometimes it hurts. So when I'm not doing for-profit stuff and I'm just focused on this, like, you know, I don't want to reach a point where it's like I have to choose between doing this kind of work or being able to eat. So any help with that area is appreciated. At a $3 level, that's fine. $30 level, then you become a student. We have really cool guests lined up next couple of months. We have Craig Hogan. We have physical medium Marcus Lang. We have Suzanne Wilson. These VIP interviews, you can participate and join in and talk to them and ask questions and watch archived classes, all of that if you become a student on the Patreon page. So that's the $30 level. Any other level, for that matter, you know, one-on-one access with me. I can help you learn about astral projection tips, all kinds of things like that. So any help in this area is appreciated. You can say hi to us at the Afterlife Topics Metaphysics Facebook page, and let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this crazy, weird subject. Maybe you've experienced the light, and maybe you strongly disagree with this idea. I'm ready to be proven wrong about this too, you know, because it's kind of weird, kind of crazy stuff. This is Cyrus. I'll see you guys on the next video.